many diverse cultures flourished, each telling stories of bravery, survival, and sometimes chilling violence. While people often hear about famous Native American tribes, many lesser-known tribes have faded into obscurity, their intriguing tales overlooked. These tribes, with their distinct traditions, fierce warriors, and mysterious rituals, share captivating and eerie stories. Within these narratives lie the haunting legacies of tribes that might have remained unknown to us. Join us as we uncover the untold accounts of history's 15 most terrifying Native American tribes you never knew about. Number 15. The Iroquois. The Iroquois Confederacy, also called the Haudenosaunee or Six Nations, is a standout example of indigenous political and social organization in North America. This alliance of tribes like the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca thrived through cooperation and unity. The Mohawk were known for their strategic eastern position and early contact with Europeans, while the Oneida and Onondaga, located in present-day New York, added cultural and geographic diversity. The Cayuga and Seneca to the west and south further enriched the alliance. Interestingly, Iroquois wasn't from the Confederacy itself, but from their Algonquin rivals, meaning rattlesnake. This nickname came from their skill at launching surprise attacks with deadly precision. The Iroquois were fierce warriors, feared by many tribes like the Huron and Erie, whom they easily overpowered. Iroquois youth underwent rigorous military training, preparing for battles from a young age. Their fighting spirit, cold-blooded efficiency, and relentless raids made them a formidable force. Becoming a skilled warrior often led to gaining the prestigious rank of war chief. A brutal aspect of Iroquois warfare was the running the gauntlet ritual, where captured enemies had to sprint between two lines of Iroquois warriors wielding thorny sticks, symbolizing the harsh realities of tribal conflict and discipline. The 17th century Beaver Wars showcased their dominance as they expanded their territory, defeating the Susquehannock in Pennsylvania and severely weakening the Huron around the Great Lakes. At the peak of their power in the early 18th century, the Iroquois controlled vast lands from Illinois to Michigan and south to Tennessee. Their strong unity was key to their success, notably when they sided with the British during the French and Indian War. This cohesion made them a powerful and enduring force. Number 14. The Comanche. The Comanche, known as the Lords of the Plains, got their name from the Ute word Comania, meaning enemy or those who want to fight me. They originally belonged to the Shoshone tribe. Living in the Great Basin of the western United States, anthropologists link the Comanche to the Shoshone through similarities in their language, part of the Uto-Aztecan family, and lifestyle. When European settlers, especially the Spanish, brought horses to North America in the 16th century, the Comanche traded for them with neighboring tribes. Horses quickly became central to their way of life. This newfound mobility allowed the Comanche to expand across the plains of Colorado and Kansas, where they thrived by hunting buffalo. Their skill in catching and taming wild horses became legendary, with riders starting to train from a young age. Horses were a symbol of status, and the Comanche's mastery of horsemanship set them apart. William Blakemore, an Englishman who lived with them, described them as awkward on foot, but graceful and fearless riders in battle. Known for their swift, brutal raids, they terrorized settlers, preventing Spanish expansion for nearly 50 years. Despite being labeled horse thieves, the Comanche built a fearsome reputation, launching nighttime raids known as Comanche Moon, during which they would massacre men, abduct women, and steal horses. Their society was centered around warfare and raiding, which established a young warrior's prestige. The Comanche were so fierce that even Spanish, French, and American forces struggled to conquer them. Captured women faced brutal torture, and their methods were notoriously ruthless. Historical accounts speak of captives being scalped, tortured with fire, or buried up to their necks and left to die under the sun. The Comanche's reign of terror was unmatched, leaving a lasting legacy as one of the most formidable indigenous tribes in history. Number 13. The Ottawa Tribe. The Ottawa Tribe of Oklahoma is one of 4 federally recognized Native American tribes of the Ottawa people in the United States. The tribe's history traces back to its Algonquian-speaking ancestors who gradually migrated from the Atlantic coast and the Great Lakes region. By the 18th century, they had settled in what are now the states of Michigan and Ohio. However, the tribe's journey took a dramatic turn in the late 1830s when the United States government forced Ottawa to relocate west of the Mississippi River. This move took them first to Iowa and then to Kansas, which was designated as Indian Territory at the time. The tribe's name, Ottawa, comes from the word Adawe, which means to trade. This highlights their long-standing tradition as skilled traders. In addition to trade, the Ottawa were known for their expertise in fishing. They primarily used nets to catch fish in the abundant waters of the Great Lakes region. After the Civil War ended in 1867, the Ottawa Tribe sold their land in Kansas and moved once again, this time to the northeastern part of what would later become Oklahoma. They purchased land from the Arapaho Tribe, the dominant tribe in that area, with approval from the United States Congress. The Ottawa Tribe of Oklahoma shares its heritage with 3 other federally recognized Ottawa tribes, all located in Michigan, which is part of their traditional territory. These include the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, and the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Ottawa Indians. Beyond the United States, the Ottawa people also have a presence in Ontario, Canada, with communities on Manitoulin Island, which is considered their ancestral homeland. Number 12. Kiowa. The Kiowa tribe originally came from the Kootenay region of British Columbia, Canada. From there, they moved to western Montana, before eventually settling in what is now Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Early records placed the Kiowa in the northern Missouri River basin, but by around 1650, they had migrated south to the Black Hills, where they lived alongside the Crow tribe. Their journey continued as they moved down the Platte River to the Arkansas River after being forced south by the Cheyenne and Sioux, who themselves were displaced from the Great Lakes by the Ojibwa tribes. Upon arriving, the Kiowas clashed with the Comanches, who already inhabited the region. But around 1790, the 2 tribes allied and shared the land, fostering a strong bond as they hunted, traveled, and fought together. The Plains Apache, also known as Kiowa Apache, also became close allies during this time. The Kiowas lived a nomadic plains lifestyle, hunting buffalo, gathering vegetables, and residing in teepees. Known for their military prowess, they conducted long-distance raids stretching from Mexico to Canada. Despite harsh winters in their homeland, the Kiowa thrived in the challenging climate and rarely ventured southward. Their reputation as fierce warriors made them one of the most formidable tribes in the region. The Kiowas signed the Medicine Lodge Treaty in 1867, agreeing to settle on a reservation in Oklahoma. However, they frequently left the reservation and in 1874 resumed conflicts with white settlers until their defeat in 1875. 2 of their most notable chiefs, Satanta, and Satank gained fame for their involvement in the Warren Wagon Train Raid. In 1901, Kiowa land was opened for white settlement. While each Kiowa family was given 160 acres, the tribe now only retains small scattered parcels of their original territory. Number 11. Tsimshian. The Tsimshian are a group of Native Americans from the northwest coast, traditionally living in the areas around the Skeena and Nass Rivers and Millbank Sound, now part of British Columbia, Canada, and Alaska, USA. They communicate using three main dialects: Niska, spoken along the Nass River; Coastal Tsimshian, found along the lower Skeena River and the coast; and Kiksan, which is spoken in the upper Skeena region. Tsimshian is considered a Penutian language. Fishing formed the backbone of the Tsimshian economy. During the summer, they would catch migrating salmon and eulachon, a type of smelt that was highly prized for its oil, which was an important food source for many local communities. Tsimshian families showcased their wealth through large, permanent winter houses made of wood, often decorated with intricate carvings and paintings. In winter, they also hunted land animals. The coastal Tsimshian and Niska clans were divided into 4 main groups, while the Kiksan were divided into 3. Each group was further broken down into smaller segments or lineages, with family lineage traced through the mother. These lineages were often independent social and ceremonial units with their own fishing and hunting grounds, berry patches, houses, and unique crests that represented significant events in their family history. Each lineage had its chiefs, and several lineages made up a tribe. The chief of the highest-ranked lineage would be recognized as the tribe's leader. Tribes shared ownership of important properties like winter village sites and took part in ceremonies and warfare together. The Tsimshian were also known for their exceptional art. They created carved and painted columns, commonly referred to as totem poles, mainly as memorials to honor deceased chiefs. Number 10. The Arapaho. The Arapaho are a Native American tribe from the Algonquian language family who lived in the 19th century along the Platte and Arkansas rivers in what we now call Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, and Kansas. According to their oral history, they once had permanent villages in the eastern woodlands where they farmed. However, due to pressure from other tribes to the east, the Arapaho gradually moved westward, leaving behind their farming and settled lifestyle. By 1830, they had split into 2 groups, one near the northern Platte River and the other by the southern Arkansas River. Like many tribes that migrated from the east to the plains, the Arapaho became nomadic horse riders, living in teepees and relying on buffalo hunting for food. They also foraged for wild plants and traded buffalo products for corn, beans, squash, and European-made goods. Their main trading partners were the farming Mandan and Arakara tribes in present-day North and South Dakota, as well as the Spanish in the Southwest. Traditionally, the Arapaho had a rich spiritual life, where everyday actions and objects held deep meanings. They held great reverence for a special flat pipe, which was kept in a sacred bundle alongside a hoop or wheel. The Arapaho practiced the sun dance and organized their society into age-based military and religious groups. Throughout history, the Arapaho frequently clashed with the Shoshone, Ute, and Pawnee tribes. The Southern Arapaho formed a close alliance with the Southern Cheyenne. Some even fought alongside them against George Armstrong Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. In 1867, the Treaty of Medicine Lodge established a reservation in Oklahoma for the Southern Arapaho and the Cheyenne, while the Northern Arapaho were given a reservation in Wyoming alongside the Shoshone. Number 9. Apache. The Apache people belong to the southern branch of the Athabascan group, which speaks a family of languages found across Alaska, Western Canada, and the American Southwest. Different Apache tribes thrived in a region stretching from the Arkansas River to northern Mexico and from central Texas to central Arizona. Despite being surrounded by powerful empires, they adapted and excelled, navigating challenges from Spanish, Comanche, Ute, and American influences in tough terrains. The Apache became experts in mobile guerrilla warfare, using both traditional bows and modern rifles introduced by Europeans. It's said that they could shoot several arrows while skillfully riding horses. Their survival strategies relied on stealth and surprise, which formed the backbone of their military strength. They mastered the art of ambush, launching sudden attacks and disappearing back into the landscape they knew so well. One of their remarkable skills was raiding. The Apache could cover great distances quickly, whether on foot or horseback, allowing them to strike with precision and retreat before enemies could react. They adapted to using Spanish horses and steel weapons, learning to wield lances and knives with impressive speed, enhancing their combat effectiveness. General Crook famously called the Apache the tigers of the human race, highlighting their fierce nature. Their ruggedness allowed them to outrun cavalry on foot, showcasing incredible agility and endurance. In battle, they demonstrated exceptional archery skills, shooting 7 arrows into the air before the first one hit the ground. However, their ferocity extended beyond battle. They showed no mercy to captives, often torturing enemies brutally. The cruelty of their warfare was infamous, as enemies faced horrific fates, including being skinned alive or having their children killed without hesitation. Number 8. Sioux. The Sioux are a group of Native American tribes and First Nations people who have lived in the Great Plains of North America for centuries. This lively community is divided mainly into 2 groups, the Dakota and Lakota. They call themselves the Ochethi Shakoving, meaning 7 council fires, which symbolizes their unity and shared heritage. The name Sioux originates from a French version of the Ojibwe word Natawesi, meaning little snakes. This term refers to the broader Great Sioux Nation and the different dialects they speak. Before the 7th century, the Santee Dakota lived around Lake Superior in areas now known as northern Minnesota and Wisconsin, thriving by gathering wild rice, hunting, and fishing. Their lifestyle changed dramatically in the 18th century when conflicts with the Ojibwe forced many Dakota to move west into southern Minnesota, where they joined the Western Dakota and Lakota tribes. In the 19th century, the Dakota signed treaties with the United States, giving up much of their Minnesota land. Sadly, the United States government often broke these treaties, leading to starvation and the Dakota War of 1862. This violent conflict resulted in the Dakota being expelled from Minnesota, pushing them onto reservations in Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota, while some sought safety in Canada. After 1870, some Dakota began returning to Minnesota, forming the reservations people see today. The Yankton and Yanktonai Dakota, or Wichiena, originally lived near the Minnesota River. In 1858, they ceded their land to South Dakota, but retained their important role as guardians of the Pipestone Quarry, a significant cultural site for the Sioux. Known for their strong hunting traditions and warrior culture, the Sioux now inhabit North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, Montana, and parts of Canada. Number 7. Pueblo. The Pueblo people are Native Americans who have lived in the southwestern United States for thousands of years, sharing a rich tapestry of agricultural, cultural, and spiritual traditions. Some of the most well-known Pueblo communities today include Taos, San Ildefonso, Acoma, Zuni, and Hopi. These communities speak languages from 4 distinct language families, and within each pueblo, there are unique cultural practices shaped by family ties and farming methods, although all of them cultivate various types of corn. Pueblo peoples are descendants of the ancestral Puebloans, a term often linked to the word Anasazi. However, many now prefer to avoid using Anasazi because it comes from the Navajo language and means ancient ones or ancient enemy. The name Pueblo, which means village in Spanish, reflects the community's close-knit living arrangements. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, during their conquest of the Americas, they were amazed by the elaborate multi-story villages made of adobe, stone, and other local materials. New Mexico has the highest number of federally recognized Pueblo communities, but there are also Pueblo groups in Arizona, Texas, and along the Rio Grande and Colorado rivers. Today, Pueblo nations continue to honor their traditions, focusing on agriculture, strong family clans, and a deep respect for their heritage. They have skillfully preserved their culture and core spiritual beliefs, even blending some aspects into a unique form of Pueblo Christianity. Known for their peaceful nature, Pueblo people excel in the arts, creating stunning paintings and pottery that have become highly valued in the global art market. While the exact number of Pueblo people is difficult to determine, it is estimated that around 75,000 Pueblo individuals live primarily in New Mexico and Arizona, with smaller communities also found in Texas and beyond. Number 6. The Hopi. The Hopi are Native Americans who mainly live in northeastern Arizona, with most belonging to the Hopi Tribe of Arizona and residing on the Hopi Reservation. Some Hopi people are also part of the Colorado River Indian tribes, living on the Colorado River Indian Reservation along the Arizona-California border. According to the 2010 United States Census, around 19,338 people in the United States identify as Hopi. The Hopi language is part of the Uto-Aztecan language family. The word Hopi means peaceful people or polite ones and represents a way of life that includes respecting others, living in harmony, and following the teachings of Masor, the creator or Earth's caretaker. Being Hopi involves reverence for all things, striving for peace, and living in balance with nature. The Hopi are known for their peaceful and humble lifestyle, and they view farming as a sacred duty. As the westernmost Pueblo Indian tribe, the Hopi speak a unique Shoshonean language. Their villages are distinct, featuring stone-built homes arranged in a circle around a kiva, a ceremonial structure used for traditional rituals. The Hopi society is organized into matrilineal clans, where children belong to their mother's clan, and these clans connect people across different villages. Naming is an important cultural practice, done by the women of the father's clan after a newborn is introduced to the son. A child can receive more than 40 names, with the village ultimately deciding on a common one. Today, many Hopi use English or modern Hopi names, but names can still change based on significant life events or religious initiations. The Hopi view their land as sacred and see themselves as caretakers, believing they inherited this duty from their ancestors. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. In the shadowed forests of the Appalachian Mountains, legends speak of a tribe so fierce that even the bravest warriors dared not speak their name aloud, the Wraith Walkers. Cloaked in secrecy and feared for their supernatural abilities, the Wraith Walkers were unlike any other Native American tribe. They were said to move like shadows, appearing and disappearing without a sound, their eyes glowing with an ethereal light during the darkest nights. The tribe's territory was a place of unbroken silence. Hunters and explorers who entered never returned. It was as if the forest itself had swallowed them whole. Those who claimed to have glimpsed the tribe reported seeing warriors draped in ghostly white paint, their faces twisted into masks of terror, their bodies adorned with bones of fallen enemies. But what made the Wraith Walkers truly terrifying was their mastery of psychological warfare. They could mimic the cries of lost loved ones or conjure terrifying visions that haunted the minds of their enemies long after they had fled. Entire armies would falter under the weight of unseen eyes, an oppressive presence that seemed to stalk their every move. One chilling legend tells of a young explorer who stumbled upon the Wraith Walkers' land. As he wandered deeper, the forest grew unnaturally still, and he found himself surrounded by pale figures watching him silently from the trees. Desperate to escape, he ran, but the trees seemed to shift and twist, closing in around him. He emerged days later, his hair turned white and his eyes blank with terror, able only to whisper one word before he fell into a silent madness. Wraith. To this day, no one knows if the Wraith Walkers were human or something far more sinister. But could the Wraith Walkers have truly possessed powers that defy logic? Let us have your opinions in the comment below. Number 5. Alaskan Athabascan. The Alaskan Athabascan people are native to Alaska and include groups like the Aleut, Inuit, Tlingit, Haida, Tsimshian, Ayak, and various northern Athabascan cultures. According to the year 2000 census, about 119,241 Alaskan natives lived in Alaska. There are 229 federally recognized Alaskan villages, along with 5 unrecognized Tlingit tribes. The Athabascan people call themselves Dina, which means the people, and they speak 11 different languages. Traditionally, they lived along 5 major rivers in Alaska: the Yukon, Tanana, Susitna, Kuskokwim, and Copper Rivers. This region, known as the interior of Alaska, stretches from south of the Brooks Mountain Range to the Kenai Peninsula. Athabascan communities were made up of nomadic hunting groups, usually consisting of 20 to 40 people from 2 families, forming tight-knit networks. The core of these groups was often a woman and her brother, who became lifelong hunting partners, along with her husband. Sometimes these partnerships began when a couple married. In these traditional families, the mother's brother played a crucial role in raising and educating his sister's children, ensuring they learned their clan's history and customs. Athabascans followed a matrilineal system where children belonged to their mother's clan, except for the Holokachuk and Deghitan tribes. Physical strength and endurance were highly valued by the Athabascans. They often chased game on foot and hunted animals like rabbits, caribou, and bears, as well as fishing for salmon. They used tools such as snares, clubs, spears, and bows and arrows. Famine was not uncommon in their history. Since they traveled often and hunted on foot, they designed light, flexible snowshoes made from birch and rawhide to help them move through the snowy Alaskan terrain. Number 4. The Yaki Tribe. The Yaki people are a Native American tribe primarily located in southern Sonora, a region along the western coast of Mexico. They speak a unique dialect known as Yaki, which is part of the Cajita language group, belonging to the larger Uto-Aztecan language family. Interestingly, the only other community that speaks a related language within this group is the Mayo people. Historically, the Yaki were settled farmers, deeply connected to their land and agriculture. However, they fiercely resisted the Spanish invaders during the 16th and 17th centuries, showcasing their strength and determination. Over time, they became influenced by Spanish missions and established communities centered around churches. Yet, in the 19th century, their fertile lands faced encroachment from Mexican settlers, which sparked a series of uprisings. These revolts were met with a tough response from the Mexican army, culminating in 1887 when many Yaki were forcibly deported. The relentless fighting and migration left their population significantly diminished. In the 1930s, the Mexican government recognized the hardships the Yaki had faced and restored much of their tribal land. Since the 1940s, the focus of Yaki agriculture has shifted due to large irrigation projects harnessing the waters of the Yaki River. This transformation has moved their farming practices away from traditional crops like corn, beans, and squash to more commercially viable crops such as wheat and cotton, along with the production of vegetable oils. The Yaki are predominantly Roman Catholic, but their religious practices still reflect a rich blend of their indigenous traditions. By the late 20th century, their population was estimated at around 25,000, with several thousand more residing in Arizona, United States, keeping their vibrant culture alive across borders. Number 3. The Chickasaw Tribe. The Chickasaw are a Native American tribe from the southeastern woodlands of the United States. Their historical homeland includes areas in northern Mississippi, northwestern and northern Alabama, western Tennessee, and southwestern Kentucky. They speak a language that belongs to the Muskogean language family. Today, the Chickasaw people are part of the federally recognized Chickasaw Nation. According to their migration story, the Chickasaw moved from lands west of the Mississippi River to what is now northeast Mississippi, northwest Alabama, and Lawrence County in Tennessee. During the colonial period, they interacted with French, English, and Spanish colonizers. The United States government recognized the Chickasaw as one of the 5 civilized tribes because they adopted many customs from European Americans. However, when settlers began encroaching on their land, the Chickasaw were forced to sell their territory in the 1832 Treaty of Pontotoc Creek and relocate to Indian Territory, now known as Oklahoma, during the Indian removal era of the 1830s. Many of their descendants still live in Oklahoma today. The Chickasaw Nation is now the 13th largest federally recognized tribe in the United States, and its members share a history with the Choctaw people. Traditionally, the Chickasaw were divided into 2 groups, called moieties, the Amosac Cha'a and the Nchoka Lipa. However, the specific roles of these groups concerning Chickasaw villages and clans are not entirely clear. The Chickasaw traditionally followed a matrilineal kinship system, where family ties and inheritance are passed down through the mother. This means that children are considered part of their mother's family and clan, gaining their social status from her. Women held significant power in the tribe, controlling most property and passing on hereditary leadership through the maternal line. Number 2. Navajo Tribe. The Navajo are the second largest Native American group in the United States, with around 300,000 members, mainly living in New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. They speak an Apachean language from the Athabascan family. The Navajo, along with the Apache, migrated from Canada to the southwest between 1100 and 1500 CE. Initially mobile hunters and gatherers, they adopted farming practices from nearby Pueblo Indians after settling in the area. By the 17th century, the Navajo interacted with Pueblo tribes, especially after some Pueblo people sought refuge with them following the Spanish suppression of the Pueblo Revolt. In the 18th century, Drought forced some Hopi tribe members to join the Navajo in places like Canyon de Chelly in northeastern Arizona. Influenced by Pueblo art, the Navajo became known for their painted pottery and exquisite woven rugs. Their ceremonial practices, including dry sand painting, also show these artistic influences. Navajo religion is complex, with many traditions detailing the emergence of the first people from different worlds below the earth. Simple rituals for luck and protection coexist with more complex ceremonies led by specialists, often aimed at healing. While some rituals involve public dances and gatherings of hundreds or thousands, many are still performed today. Though not as aggressive as the Apache, the Navajo's raiding prompted the United States government in 1863 to send Kit Carson to subdue them. This campaign devastated their crops and led to the imprisonment of about 8,000 Navajo and 400 Mescalero Apache at Bosque Redondo, resulting in a 4-year captivity that left deep scars of bitterness and distrust. Number 1. The Cherokee People. The Cherokee People are one of the indigenous groups from the southeastern woodlands of the United States. Before the 18th century, they mainly lived in towns along river valleys in present-day southwestern North Carolina, southeastern Tennessee, southwestern Virginia, western South Carolina, northern Georgia, and northeastern Alabama, covering about 40,000 square miles. The Cherokee language belongs to the Iroquois language family. In the 19th century, ethnographer James Mooney recorded a story about the tribe migrating south from the Great Lakes, where other Iroquois peoples were based. However, anthropologist Thomas White, writing in 2007, argued that the separation of these groups happened earlier, around 4,000 years ago, likely originating in the Appalachian region. By the 19th century, Cherokee people were classified as one of the 5 civilized tribes due to their agricultural lifestyle, permanent villages, and adoption of some white settlers' practices. They also created their writing system. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Cherokee tribes: the United Kituwa Band of Cherokee Indians and the Cherokee Nation, both based in Oklahoma, and the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians in North Carolina. The Cherokee Nation is the largest, with over 300,000 members. Many people also claim Cherokee ancestry, with more than 819,000 identifying as such on the United States Census, though most are not enrolled members of any tribe. The UKB consists mainly of descendants of old settlers who moved from the southeast to Arkansas and Oklahoma around 1817, before the Indian removal. They are related to the Cherokee, who were forcibly relocated in the 1830s. The EBCI, located on the Qualla boundary in western North Carolina, is primarily made up of ancestors who resisted relocation. They became state and United States citizens when they gave up tribal membership, but later reorganized as a federally recognized tribe in the late 19th century. What are your thoughts about these Native American tribes? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below.